Give me a shot.
Hi, good evening, guys. Just wait for 10 more seconds to see everything is working fine. We faced one issue in the very first one, and uh, that's okay. I think everything is fine. So we heard Shashank before, and as I discussed earlier, the aim of these sessions is basically we are not going to find out what your LRDI strategy is or how many questions to attempt in CAT or ZAT or anything like that. I mean, the aim was very simply we have teachers who we basically know them as okay, they provide us this set, they are awesome at their work. They also face a lot of challenges, and as we discussed earlier that their life may not be as glory or as glorious even just because they are on Facebook and WhatsApp most of the time doesn't mean that their life is any easier. So today speaking next up is Rajesh is from 2IM. He's come up multiple times over here, multiple times CAT 100 percentiler, investment banker turned cat
Former investment
tutor.
banker. Former. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ invite ಕಾಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
Investment banker turned cat tutor. So we will check out what his journey has been like. Rajesh, you are like what, about 8 years? This is your 8th year running 2IM?
Yeah, for take yes.
Okay. See, most of the other people who actually, Shashank actually joined very quickly uh, just after college. I mean, just finished college, and then basically after 1 year of work, he basically started his particular institute. What you've actually worked for like quite a bit of time, about 10 years. I mean, 8 to 10 years. Then you suddenly jumped into test prep. What
Yeah.
made that shift?
I was always interested in teaching. There was no two ways about it. That was not ever in doubt. So I was always interested in teaching. I was in a banking role, so I didn't know what I wanted to do. The job was good; it paid well, so paid the bills, and I was quite content and having a go at it. I had my first kid, so we came back to India. Personal life was, and it seemed like a good time to jump in and do something else. I had spent about 6 years in banking. I just did not like banking. So considered a really cool job and all that. I was doing all right, not like I was an abject failure. I survived the Great Recession, and I was doing
You were
fine.
in London, right? You were
I
in
was in
London.
London. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
in London during the 2008 recession.
2008 recession.
And at the end of it, I had had enough. So I'll come back, and then I want to do something on my own. And I always liked teaching. So it just happened that it got delayed a little bit. I think also I finished my MBA in 2003, and back then, doing something on your own was not like a natural thing to do. You finish your MBA, you take up a job. That's how it was. And I was a fresh grad going into my MBA. So I had never worked and I had no idea what a job would be. So it seemed like the default option to take was to work, which I did. And then I said, look, let me do something on that.
And again, that's like an even bigger risk because you actually left your job just at the time when you actually had a kid. And Shashank actually mentioned earlier today that one of the reasons he actually did it so quickly after his college was because he didn't want to get into that part where he has responsibilities, etc. So what was the talk like with your wife and family about, okay, I'm going to leave this job? Did you guys go through like any financial planning, etc.?
I'm going to assume that my wife never sees this video. I'm going to say had a long, detailed chat, and it was a fantastic analysis of current and potential future financial status. It was nothing of that kind. It was. I won't say it was an impulsive decision,
Okay.
but I just didn't like my job, so it was not freakishly well thought out. It was not a bhayankar risky decision in a real primal sense. I was not looking over my shoulder for my next meal. That never happened. So there was always I had I
Based on the
hadn't spent
savings.
too much money doing my MBA. These days, the cost of MBA is 15, 17 lakhs. For us, it was 2 lakhs, and I got a scholarship as well. So I didn't have a debt when I started my career, and I worked as a investment banker for at least 4 full years. So I knew that I had savings to go by. So I'm not facing money trouble on a month-end basis or a week-to-week basis. And so on a wealth generation basis, everybody has. I mean, Anil Ambani will probably wine, but his brother's making too much money. So everybody has a benchmark on wealth generation, but I didn't have that. So it was not a pressure decision. It was not frightfully well thought out. It was something that I wanted to do. It was something that I was going to do at some point of time. I hated my job. It seemed like we had not had a full-fledged business plan. We hung on to some parts of the business for way longer than we should have. Should have dumped some segments really quickly. We did.
If I'm not mistaken, 2IM was part of Ascent Education, right? If I'm not
Yeah, it was
mistaken.
part of Ascent Education. So Ascent Education started 2IM in 2001. So Ascent Education was 2IM, and then Ascent Education branched off into a couple of other things. So Bhaskar is my boss. He runs Ascent Education. The way we structure it is he runs GMAT and I run CAT.
Okay.
That's what it is. And it is not a freakishly well thought out decision. It was not something that where we did a lot of analysis on plan A, plan B, plan C. Then we jumped in. I don't know how much it would have helped because the variables you see after you become an entrepreneur are not the ones you consider when you draw the business plan. We didn't do my big risk was only opportunity cost. It's not for all the flaws in the industry. It is not capital intensive. I didn't borrow. I didn't capitalize. I didn't take.
I mean, you don't need. I mean, that's one of the charms of this industry is that it's a negative cash flow industry. I mean, there is. I cannot imagine of a business where people pay you first and then you provide the service.
Correct.
I mean, you don't have to build in, and that because of those lack of entry barriers, you have so much.
Correct.
So much homogeneity in services
Correct. So, but therefore, the only cost was the opportunity cost, which helped. So, as much as I didn't have debt, I had no capital. So, therefore, there would have been any business that required capital was a no-go.
And I think it was also a good time for coming in. I mean, 2000. I mean, I started the Time Center in 2009, and you started in 2010. I think one of the biggest challenges at that point of time for the large test preps was that they had spent about 8 to 9 years trying to organize the market. I mean, if you look at 2001 to 2009, they had set up huge centers. They had invested a lot of money. Then the CAT market actually tanked. I mean, like 2008 to 2009. I think 2010 was the worst year, if I'm not mistaken. 180 or 190.
Correct.
Odd people writing it. So, I mean, did that help you? I mean, as such, do you think that in hindsight helped you?
No. It was the worst time to join an industry. It was the absolute.
No. I'm saying that. I'm saying that it actually weakened the local big test preps as such over there.
The hypothesis that the small players are more nimble is only when the small players are functional. The climbing industries are the worst time to start business. Sometimes Bhaskar and I sit down and we think, and he looks at me and says, "Dude, we had a good run for 7 years. You come to the industry and it started declining for the next 8 years." So there's some causality involved here. So it was the absolute worst.
Especially given that you actually had faced a recession there in that industry as well.
So I'm the recession magnet. So if I go into some industry, you guys should run away from it.
So guys who are actually planning a school course, Rajesh has just launched a school course.
I think I should have a school banner right.
I just
absolute worst time to join the industry. Absolute worst. There's no two ways about it. It's been getting consistently worse. Now, the entry barrier is low. Lots of entrants. The messaging is about, look, we teach well. You come and check out the course. You see, that doesn't fly. That doesn't. People. I have noticed that people don't have the confidence to completely try out a course and trust their instincts and go for it. They would rather go
with somebody who's established.
So they want to hear somebody say, "Hey, this is fantastic," rather than have the confidence to go and check that out. It's also an aspirational market where it's a sign of ambition if you go and say you're going to do CAT, but you're always a little worried before you start on the journey. So you're putting aside 8-9 months of free time. I'm saying, look, I'm going to jump into this big deal thing with uncertain outcomes. And therefore, there's a lot of toing and throwing in your decision making. And it is in 2008, you jumped in. Your other options were not fantastic, and you were like, oh, MBA or bust. And there should be a giant pot. I think a bunch of things happened. One was the one-year courses became prominent, and the IIMs started going towards work experience. I joined as a fresh grad, and about 70% of my batch was fresh grads, and this is nine Bangalore. And nine Bangalore had the largest percentage of work experience candidates.
Working people, yeah.
So my batch was an anomaly since across IIMs, like oh, so many people work with WorkX. So the whole industry math or industry question became like, as a fresh grad, you got a pay salary, you've never received that pay. Then you just go join to an MBA, continuously express me MBA, pura education khatam kar do was the mantra. These days, the guy with 3 years experience was getting 7-8 lakhs with an inferior pro-cognizant, has to put life on hold for 2 years, probably lose 10% hike for 2 years in a row, spend 16-18 lakhs doing an MBA, and then come back to join an ICICI Prudential job at 11 lakhs per annum, which is equivalent of Infosys 8 lakhs. You give magic kata numbers ke saath. So there are lots of things. The decision-making parameters shifted because IIMs started going towards more experienced candidate. There was a 1-year MBA which started being measured in terms of opportunity cost. I'm losing pay only for 1 year, and therefore the proposition was not as default as it used to be in 2006, 7, 8.
The good part which has happened probably is that internet is way more. I mean, the penetration of internet is way higher than probably what it was even say 7 or 8 years ago. I remember when I first came in back. Just getting a broadband connection with a stable working feature was really a pain. I mean, these days probably everyone has a smartphone and probably a Geo mobile with all those things.
Correct.
And do you think that is actually that's actually harming you more than helping you, or how is it? I mean, like
that's the structural positive. If I'm thinking about online, then it's a default structural positive straight away. If you're saying online, then the reach is large. So you automatically are able to address a pan-India market, and it helps. And I think over time, the discovery process of who teaches well, what is good, will become better. Are like how I said that everybody wants to be reassured by someone else, and therefore the magic works more than validating the course. I think that is going off. People are seeing that somebody else's opinion can't be trusted with so many random fakes and manufactured reviews and opinions floating around. People are now saying, okay, I might not really have the confidence to back my own judgment, but I'm still going to go and mark it out and find out there.
I mean, that's a good point that you actually have raised, and you have actually written quite a bit about on Quora also regarding reviews, especially on Facebook, and some manufactured reviews, etc. Don't you think, like in this era of fake news and WhatsApp groups and forwards, actually being online sometimes actually is harming you? I mean, is it like, I mean, did you face that sort of like a process? I mean, at least in April, May, you'll probably go through those false reviews, etc.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. But I think as much as we think that, I think sometimes we are a little bit behind the trend when you're looking at it. The moment we're all saying there's so much fake reviews, I think people at the same time are waking up and saying, oh my God, there's so many fake reviews. I used to be, as an end consumer, like if I want to buy a mobile, I'll ask a couple of guys, they'll pick a mobile, I'll just buy it. If I want a TV, I want to speak to a couple of guys. If I want, for each I have guys. I speak to them, and then I get a starting point, and then I Google and review. If I want to buy a book, then I am the guy. The guys call me for the books. So I will go through 100 reviews. Now I know which reviews are fine, which are manufactured, which are fake, and I can see through. If I can, everybody can. So I think people are picking up the skill of reinterpreting stuff and not worrying about. I think the era of fake reviews.
Bring in a point. I mean, everyone has to be burnt before they actually realize that the reviews are not wrong. But the thing is, the biggest challenge with the test prep cycle, especially, is that most people attempt once. I think about 60 to 70% attempt once. Probably the remaining 40 to
Yeah,
40 to 30% will probably attempt it second or more times.
correct.
Uh, don't you think that because of that burn factor, uh, you don't get an opportunity at that 100% market? You're getting only at like probably a 40-30% market as such.
True. Such is life. Such is life. That's all right. One is there are lots of sufficiently large number of players who are completely capitalizing on the fact that look, you can con people once, and then you're never going to be hurt again. I got a wonderful parallel from some guy who's a market analyst. He told me, dude, your market is like Bharat matrimony. Most of your guys are going to use you only once, and they're going to use everybody only once. And the moment they get a good deal, they're going to say, "Hey, I'm such a great person that somebody or other like me." They get a bad deal, they're going to blame the website. So the only once part is really stuck home. So I actually think, notwithstanding all this, over time, in some sense, discovery happens. I've seen lots of. It's almost like internally I tell the guys, like, look, there are three new players. I'm worried about these two, what they're going to do the market. I'm worried about that because in 2 years' time they're not here. The next 2 years they're going to have fun. And one thing you can say that look, next 2 years they're going to get a lot of people to jump on board and disappoint them. But you also know that they're going to be there for 2 years, not more than that. Some stay for 3, 4, but not more than that. You can't have a fake gig and keep going on for 6 years, 7 years. You need to have a compelling proposition and turn up year after year and do the real things to survive and create value. And that'll happen.
I asked this question earlier also to Shashank. Did 2 year, I mean, when you left your job in 2008, were you envisaging like you will be solving doubts with somebody with a Salman Khan or an Amir Khan cat profile and asking doubts online on Facebook? I mean, did you ever envisage that?
Sorry. What?
I mean, you have all these Facebook groups where people keep on asking, and they have fake IDs with Salman Khan and all these other people.
Correct. No. To be honest,
Did you actually ever thought that that is going to come up?
Correct. The anonymity is a double-edged sword. It gives people the confidence to try things that they might not have. It gives people the confidence to try stupid things that they should never try. So therefore, it works both ways. So when I started this business, online was not on the anvil. So when 2010, we did not have a business plan that had online in it. There's a decent chance that we would have really struggled if online hadn't come along. So therefore, I'm glad that online is around. I was part of the guys. I covered the software services sector. So history-wise, the dot-com boom bust was a big lesson for me as an analyst. So we used to look back at that and say, look, what went wrong, what went right. The dot-com boom bust happened in 98, 2000. A lot of the good ideas that were there were actually implemented in 2006 to 8. So there's a process where the chatter goes way ahead of reality, and then everybody gets overexcited. And then you realize that, look, ये सब हो सकता है, लेकिन हो नहीं रहा है. And then the next cycle, all of the things which
were left over from the previous one,
you fantasized about in the previous cycle, they do happen. So I think there is a good chance that we'll have a compellingly good set of online educating e-learning companies which will be there 5 years from now, 7 years from now, offering wonderful propositions to different markets. Because I think that you'll have fabulous, the addressable market is large for anyone who has the patience to create good quality content.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges. I mean, both as a creator as well as a educator, is that the lack of patience is so much. I mean, you create a 20-minute video where you explain everything beautifully. After the first 2 minutes, people have switched off because they wanted a quick fix. Right?
Definitely.
I mean, so the attention spans are going completely down.
Correct. No doubt about it.
How do you deal with this, especially online? I mean, I think one of the reasons why you don't take live classes is also because of that. I mean, I'll come to that later, but at least how do you deal with
see, our online span is a product, not a micro service. I mean, service is for reaching out to people, so it's a product. The beauty about online is, for me, is to a large extent, when I take the class, I imagine a classroom of 40 freakishly keen students sitting in front, feverishly trying questions, and I have a go. I'm staring into a camera sitting in a lone room, but I imagine this setting and I have a go. So I don't have uh, the luxury of having immediate feedback for what I teach because of the product. I don't have the burden of seeing people who are completely uninterested in what I'm teaching, or they're switching off, or they don't have the thing. But the point that you're mentioning are probably the concerns of our era. And like we all have nostalgia bias, a roasty nostalgia. About 25 years ago, parents were panicking about the influence of TV, saying that TV is going to completely dull down people and destroy them. I'm part of the TV generation. For us, TV was the breakthrough, where you could have 8 channels and stuff.
TV probably grew me up, so yeah, babysat me.
So, but 10 years ago, it was the idea of internet. Now it is social media. I think like how in the moment, we tend to overestimate the impact of things. People are going to realize that attention spans are shrinking and they're not processing enough and their requirements are higher. They're going to flip out and say, I think we have a reason to complain only if we create a product that addresses that gap rather than merely pontificating. So when I'm in the product creation mode, I don't lower the bar at all, especially for the school product. The product we create is your Olympiad stuff. I don't imagine that the kid standing there cannot think for more than 3 minutes, and I have to start wearing fancy outfits to retain their attentions. I don't glorify the content. The content stands alone. I completely believe that whoever is hanging in there is hanging in there. And if it's 20% of my base, I'm very happy delivering to 20% of the base. There's a natural selection bias also that happens. The guys validate our product, test our product, maybe because our marketing is not that good. Only guys who completely check out our product actually end up buying it. So
that is something.
Therefore, the guys know what they're getting into, and I don't have this feeling of having disappointed somebody or lied to somebody. So I know that this is what we offer, and I completely believe that I'm delivering to that section of guys who are going to see till the 60 minute of the video. I don't care about the fact that 2 guys who see only till 2 minutes. The beauty of online for me is that I don't have to care about it. I can imagine that everybody is listening for 6 minutes and then I'm on. Each of us have our cocoons.
That brings me to your biggest fight against live online classes. I mean, you said that it is practically impossible to engage that kind of attention or get that kind of output versus what you can do physically, at least right now with the technologies that we have. Probably with later on with virtual reality or something like that, we might be able to do it.
No, I don't think there's it's not even a technology thing. Even if technology improves, I don't think we'll be able to do it. I think live makes a slight promise of live interactability. It makes, like this session is live. Somebody who's going to watch it not from 9 to 9:30, but from 10 to 10:30 is going to get the exact same thing, with the advantage that they can fast forward a question if they're not interested in it. There's nothing compelling. Watching football live, there's a thrill to it. Learning percentages live, there's nothing to it. You cannot.
But what about doubts and all those things?
Which live platform can promise live doubt clearing on a one-on-one basis? Live, the compelling hidden message. See, some of these models are one-to-one live. That's on a Skype setting. Like the two of us are talking. There's nobody else there. You ask it out, and there's
that's how online tutoring started. I mean, when people from US were logging on to people from Kerala and
Kerala. That I think is a compelling proposition. But that's tutoring, and you need to have the intersection of good pedagogy, good technology understanding, and keenness to teach. All three, that intersection, people can do it. And one-on-one at even a high price, I think that's brilliant. But one-to-many live, it's just you put live. There's nothing. There is absolutely no advantage to one-to-many live. Basically, because the big advantage people think of online, they think that you can learn in your own time and in your own location. But the biggest advantage is your own pace. I can fast forward stuff that I'm not interested in. Like these days, I watch live football matches starting with a 20-minute delay because I can fast forward the. Because I just say, look, I'm beginning at 12:15. I'll start at 12:30, and I'm not going to get any other input. To me, it is live, and second half is really live. In the 15 minutes in the break, I'm just going to gorge on something from the fridge. I'm just bypassing. So the biggest advantage is pace setting. And live make pace setting goes out of whack. And pace setting works both ways. Sometimes I want to fast forward, sometimes I want to rewind. Rewind is to gone. So you go back, and then you feel like you're missing out on the new fantastic thing the teacher is pointing on right now, this minute, because you are going 5 minutes behind the class. That's how you feel. But in recorded, I find no value add in life more than anything else. In our recorded things like this session, we're shooting a breeze and we're shooting this, and this is live. This is going to stay on YouTube. When I do a session for classes, I get a bunch of other settings right. And if something goes wrong, I pin videos. Of course, all of us pin videos. Half the videos get pinned. There's no pin in live. I listen to my video and I feel like this point didn't come out well. I pin that and reshoot. So my recorded classes, the quality is fantastic. The pace setting is fantastic. It is modularized. You can just push it to a point and do. I do 4-minute, 8-minute videos for each idea. And you can skip. Suppose this you shot this and you uploaded this as 7 videos with each question. Yaar, ye question mere ko chahiye nahi. How do I care where this Rajesh worked beforehand? So I can skip. So everything, the freedom of the joy of online learning is only if it's a product. And the pressure on product is very high. I have done live sessions on the fly, but I'll never upload half those videos without editing the hell out of it onto the platform. So I've tracked product companies and services companies. Services companies want to get the job done. Product companies want to get the job done in a way it will stay for a lifetime, for 40 years, for 50 years. They'll think of not having to tweak this. You keep on fingering that, then you're a service.
How much is the longevity of your videos, especially when you have a new trick coming in every month? I mean, every week you have a probably new type of doubt which come up, etc.
See, the doubt is significant. We change. There's no new way of solving percentages and problems. I'm no general knowledge nahi padha raha hai, current affairs nahi padha raha hai. I'm not on the cutting edge of geometry and number system where I'm flirting with the fieldsman. We're not. So if you get your act right, we tweak our product relentlessly. But it's always the pedagogy that drives it. So if I find a better way of teaching, I'll pin a question and add one more, or take this and substitute that. But I'm yet to come back with this like 5% of our videos churn because we have found better ways of teaching. 10% get churned because there's been some volume error and some. But other than that, I've not found a compelling reason to start teaching fractions and decimals differently compared to how we taught 10 years ago, 8 years ago. We're not in that industry. So I don't see any relevance sphere here.
And do you think because a lot of your revenues, etc., are online, you have a problem where people actually say that you have actually recorded it 10 years ago? I mean, why should I pay it? I mean, I get asked those questions. Like, I mean, why should I pay this much for?
Correct. So the price pressure, negative price pressure is there in telecom. It is going to be there in our industry also. So I think we'll come to a point where people don't say, "Tumhara cost 10 saal pehle tha," but what is the impact of the course for me? If it's a good course and it's a compelling proposition vis-a-vis everything else at a price that will make a difference, then you're still good. So if the impact is there, if the course can teach me really well, then people will pay whatever the relevant price is for that. I don't think people are going to come back and say you're not putting. And if you don't, we might build a product, we continuously, relentlessly refresh it. If you don't, then you're in trouble. You're asking for trouble.
I mean, you have to add more sessions or probably different ways to reinvent yourself. That is perfectly fine.
So I spend as much time every year shooting videos as I did in the first year. We're either expanding or modifying or improving or tweaking or replacing a slightly poorly shot video. We're relentlessly improving the product. So it's not like I've built a product and say, yeah, you do okay, now I'll take rest. We're always putting fight to teach that little bit better and raising the bar. And I think in some ways, the barrier to entry will go higher and higher up, the more the tweaks that happen. Because what our product now is unrecognizable from what it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. as it will be for anyone who builds a product and keeps on tweaking. This is what we do. So you take that and you keep tweaking it, and you get better. And that is where the hygiene factor for an online product is now way higher than it was 4 years ago. And that is where, like, industries which have low barrier to entry become industries that have high barriers to entry, because some three guys keep tinkering and taking the product to where the hygiene factor is that little bit higher. But that's what people are doing. That's not just us. That's what everyone who cares about this is doing. There's some guys who don't care about this, and they're disappearing as well. Just takes.
I mean, we are almost out of time. I'll just ask a couple of more questions. How do you unwind? I mean, like, what do you? I mean, I know you watch football till the time. I think even though Iniesta is no longer playing, I mean, you're still watching football,
Yeah.
and obviously you have your rants with the GST and filing processes. But like, how do you unwind? I mean, like, what will
Well,
Rajesh? I mean,
to start with, my need for unwinding is not very high.
okay.
I don't work crazy hours. I work very modest hours. I have a fantastic team, a bunch of fabulous guys I work with. So they bail me out with odd hours and all of that fantastically well. Because I'm the older guy in the team. I'm with the family, and I have two kids, and they place their demands on me. So therefore, there's no banker need for unwinding. I do a lot of Quora writer. I want to be a writer at some point in time. So Quora is practice for writing. Therefore, I do that. I watch football. I play football once a week, twice a week. So that I don't. I don't
Actually, Shashank did mention that. Shashank did mention that. I mean, you are probably too good for Quora. I mean, the articles that you probably write should not be on Quora. Probably should be somewhere else. I mean, like.
I'd be very thankful for that. It's flattering. I do want to take writing more seriously. From 2 years from now.
I mean, like, what genre are you looking at?
I don't know. I'm not good enough for. I don't have the.
Have you tried your hand at like stand-up comedy or satire or something like that?
I will go there. Yeah,
okay.
we get there. Not
that is something, at least those biting. I mean, some of your posts which I read, I mean, they'll read as if one of those old British comedies. I mean, my father used to be a big fan. I mean, the Yes Minister series.
Yeah.
I practically grew up on that. I mean, some of those things read like scripts of some of those.
Once again, freakishly flattered. In many ways, I think Quora for me is my own practice ground. I read somewhere that if you want to be a writer, you shouldn't read, you should write. Therefore, that is Quora.
You should read and you should write.
Yeah, you shouldn't merely read, definitely. Yeah. So to me, Quora is that place where I have the pressure to keep on writing. Therefore, at some point of time, I can improve.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rajesh. I mean,
I quite enjoy it.
As usual, it is very refreshing, very honest about what goes on in real life, and also probably a little too magnanimous, so to speak. I would also like you guys, all of you, to attend this live session, which I'm not sure how. Yeah, there's a live session going on from 10 o'clock onwards on the 2IM platform on DILR. You can join in over there. Thank you very much, Rajesh.
For joining. Thanks again, and happy Teachers' Day to everyone out there.
Yeah, bye. Good night.